I stand before you here today as proof that miracles do happen. I would not be here were it not for very rare individuals who stood up just like you do today for justice and for what's right. Those are the rescuers. And I was asked to talk about them and what happened to me with those. These are the individuals who became extraordinary from being ordinary, the ones that knew right from wrong, the ones that risked their own lives to save somebody else's, but not just that, they were risking the lives of their families, their pets even. And the fear of that discovery was always with them and with me when I was in hiding. My first rescuers were actually my parents. They were interned with me in the Kovno ghetto, which was, as was told, one of the first, and was completely Judenfrei within almost a year. And that means that the Jews were either murdered or deported to someplace else, which they might have been murdered also. I'm here as one of the fortunate ones, and I live my life in gratitude. Because of those rescuers, I am here, and I have 2 sons and 4 grandchildren, and I am here to show the sanctity of life as well as the continuity of Jewish life on this planet. My parents realized that the cruelty of what was happening around them was not going to stop, even though we were ruled by deceit and by lies and by subterfuges that made them think otherwise for many. They saw the deportations, they saw the beatings, they saw the Große Aktion, which was the first big rounding up of Jews. And some of you might know about the Jews that go to the left might be killed, or the Jews that go to the right might be killed. But 10,000 were herded into what's called the 9th Fort, which is nearby to the ghetto, and shot within our. We could hear the cries, we could hear the actual shots sometimes. Then, not long after that, they had what's called the Kinderaktion, which is when they rounded up all the children, because the children and the elderly, the infirm, were not useful, they were dispensable. And at the Kinderaktion, they actually just threw the children into trucks like bundles and limbs flying, and well, my parents decided that I would be the first to be rescued. And they painstakingly, slowly dug a hole under the barbed wire that surrounded the ghetto. They were able to do so by timing the guards and the searchlights and risking their own lives, because any time that they would be discovered, it would be the end of all of us for sure. And then the miracle did happen. One day, the hole was ready, and they pushed me through it, again painstakingly timing the guards and the searchlights. And I was on the other side of that barbed wire where my father's secretary was waiting for me in the shadows. At that point, I was crying endlessly because I didn't know what was happening to me. I was 6 years old. And my father's secretary no longer could keep me because she was afraid of being discovered. But fortunately, there was another network of journalists And my mother's best friend was part of that. She was Jewish, so I had another Jewish rescuer before the Christian rescuers came into my life. And I was hidden with 2 Christian Scientist women, and their religion was also under fire by the Nazis. I was hidden with maybe 2 others at that time, and then that too was dangerous because in the house nearby, which was connected, lived another person who was a Nazi, and had they discovered us, all of us would be again murdered. So they saw that there was too much food coming into the building and too many other things that were not normal, so I had to leave. I had to leave, and they found a place for me in the countryside with my main rescuer, Lida, who is a total saint. She rescued a deaf mute. She rescued a family of a widow who was Russian, who might have been killed also. She rescued some more children and some more Jews. And at that point, I still had the fear that I would be discovered, and I couldn't understand why. What did I do wrong? I'm just 6 years old trying to be a good girl. And some of you might remember your 6-year-old days, but you might have children or grandchildren who are that age. It's not an easy life for that. But then there's also the light after the darkness, and these people who did that for me are now in Yad Vashem, which is one of the goals of Yad Vashem is to honor the righteous who did such great deeds. As a matter of fact, 24,300 righteous are listed in Yad Vashem, my rescuers among them. But that's a huge number, and then you have the other side of the darkness, which is why only 24,000. When we are here and see the anti-Semitism that happens around us, like the consul said, it is a changing world, and it's changing so rapidly. We have denial of the Holocaust, when Germany itself is the best recorder of this statistics of the Holocaust. We have governments who say it never happened. We have organizations, we have individuals, and it's rising around the world together with the anti-Semitism combined with the anti-Israel, and it's all melding into one big, dangerous trend that each and everyone would need to face, because maybe the Jews are first, but they're not the last. As Hitler said, we'll kill all the Poles. He said, we'll kill all the Germans because they didn't deserve to live if they lost the war. So see the other as yourself, and respect and protect what you see is injustice and lies and cruelty, because anti-Semitic incidents have grown so fast and so many. And in our country, which is totally the best country, as my father said, we came to America because he said, this is the last country in the world where there will be a war on earth. And he was a wise man. And so in America, 15% of the citizens harbor anti-Semitic attitudes out of ignorance, out of propaganda, out of just ingrained family and religious bias. But it's dangerous because words of violence lead to acts of violence, and one has to stand up. And this March of Remembrance is so meaningful and important because it brings to your attention what should be done, what could be done, and you are the ones who can be the messengers, the prophets of this. You can go home and understand what the issues are and talk about it to your families, to your friends, to anybody who will listen. Make it a better world around you. You have the potential. As Mother Teresa said, if you have a drop of water falling into the sea, the vast sea, it still makes a ripple. No matter how small it is, it goes on and on and on, and it can go on in your memories, it can go on in your cells, in your children's memories, in your children's children's memories. You are the keeper of the truth. And please spread it, and please act accordingly, because the world needs you at this point. And I want to thank you for being here today, because you understand, you have compassion, and that's why you show up at things like this. And I want to thank also the organizers of this, because what they're doing is contributing with their heart to something that is a worldwide movement almost, to counteract what the rest of the world has to lie to others. So I want to leave you with the words that are probably most spoken words in Israel, which is shalom. And that means peace. And that is peace in your hearts and in the world. And I thank you for listening. Thank you.
Visit www.marchofremembrancehouston.org, www.marchofremembrance.org for information on an event in your area. Hear Holocaust survivors, World War II veterans, and/or their families share their experiences as victims and liberators. Experience heartfelt testimonies, healing, and hope. Rise up and march against today's anti-Semitism. Marchofremembrance.org, marchofremembrancehouston.org.